Hey, there we go. Whew. How about now? Can you hear me now? How are we doing? Good morning. It is March 9th, 2018. It's a Friday. I don't normally stream on Fridays, but I'm back. I'm back at Channel 9 Studios. I'm in a back studio here. It's just me today. We've had a wild week here on campus. Um, uh-oh. And I've got quintuple entries from Mixer in the chat room. Oh, that's going to be a treat. Oh, no. Let's see what we can do to reset that. Yeah, look at that. Woohoo! Quintuple repeating. This happens every now and again with our chat room on the stream here. Let's see if I can just force a refresh there. Can somebody from Mixer post again there? Just a one word hello or something. Let's see if we can get that to pop. Seems like I'm quieter than usual. I'm using a different headset. There we go. That worked. Haha. All right. Probably the headset. Yeah, I'm using a different headset today. I do have it maxed out though on my gain over here. Let me double check my recording devices, and then you know what? I'll get around to the stupid introduction and introduce myself. That might be a good idea. How's that? We better now? I think that might be a little bit better looking at my gauge itself. All right, so it is March 9th. I'm here at Microsoft. I'm in our studios, and just me today. I want to write some code together with you. I want to take a look into some of the things going on in our projects. I was hoping to stream from the MVP Summit yesterday. The MVP Summit is, of course, it's one of our events that we host here on campus, where folks who aren't employees, folks that we recognize as being valuable contributors to our communities, whether it's Windows, .NET, Visual Studio, we bring those folks in, we show them some of the cool things that we're working on, get their feedback, and decide, future of products based on some of their input. So it's a great event for us to get feedback. It's a fun event for MVPs to learn cool things going on. Minos, welcome, Darth. I appreciate you joining us here. So I got a chance to talk a little bit about .NET Framework, some of the cool things we're working on there. And yesterday we had this hackathon. I wanted to be able to sit on the side of that and show some of the open source projects we were working on. But I was advised that it wouldn't be a good idea, and I didn't have some of the setup that I needed there to check in and make it work correctly. So we bailed on that yesterday, and it was a last minute thing. My apologies. I don't like doing that. I like keeping to my schedule here. But let's take a look. I want to get back into our project. I want to get back into writing code. We did a little bit with Brady and with Max, and we even had Seth stop by on Tuesday. I want to get back into writing code. I'm a developer first, so I want to start working with that again. Today I've got music playing in the background. This is once again Music to Code By from Carl Franklin. Today I believe this is called Green. Yes, today's song is Green in the background there. I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know if the music is too loud, if it's too soft, and I can tune it appropriately. Awesome summit this year from Steve Fabian. Best in years. Brandon says he can't hear the music. All right. This is a quieter song than normal. Let me know how that sounds now. As I push up, there you go. All right, let's go over to GitHub and let's take a look at what's going on here. So I will wander over to this, and we'll see if my widgets load there on the top of the screen. So I have my production machine over on this side, and I have my normal editing developer machine here in front of me. Let's see, what do we got? We good? Time to dim the lights. Yeah. It's slow jazz with Jeff. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My gosh, our architecture workshop follower goal, we're over 1,000, 1,100. Oh my gosh. Thank you everybody that clicked through and started following the stream. Just a heads up, no restream chat reloaded when you changed scenes. Yes, I know. I know. I wanted it to do that. It was intentional. All right. So I want to start off today. I want to jump down into my StreamTools project that we've been working on here. Oh, and of course, I'm wearing my Eagles green, my Eagles Super Bowl hat here because I want to say hi to some of my Seahawk friends while I'm here in town. Say hello and join them. So, oh my gosh, we got more than 50 people watching over there on Twitch, and looks like we got a follow coming through here from, is that 5 is Prime? Thanks for the follow, I appreciate that. Good morning. Developers. Great to see you, Steve. How'd the Clippers do last night, Steve? We love we love those Clippers in LA. All right. Let's take a look. I think I've got, oh my gosh, Daniel Gary, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. I look forward to hearing from you in the chat room. Let's take a look. I've got a pull request hanging out here. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is still, so this is a pull request to help us start working on a bot for moderating the chat, being able to connect to both Twitch and Mixer. This one will help us connect to Mixer and start receiving some of the chat messages so we can moderate them. I don't think I want to work on that just yet. I've got a couple folks that I want to bring in to help with that, but I'm going to come back to that. What do we got here? Hey, Sebs, what is a good way to create aliases commands on Win 10 that would do things like open this folder, create a file, open it, etc.? Tweak the volume down a little bit. Sound okay. Now, Brendan was complaining, I can't hear the music. And now it's too loud. I tell you. Can't please everybody. All right. Some aliases command that help you open a folder, create a file. There are tools out there that will help you with that. There are hotkeys that you can use to jump right into folders and things. I like to always use WinR to open my run panel down here in the corner, and then you can actually type and jump right into a folder by doing something like cdev fritz StreamTools, and it'll jump right in and open that folder for you. Create a file, open it. Well, you can always right click and do that. All right. I mean, I'm not sure how much more, how much easier we can make that. Right click and new, and you can customize the contents of your new window here. Standby reloading. That's right. If you do Windows E, it'll open Explorer, and you could type in the folder right here that you want to jump to. So there's options. Control W I just used there to close a window. So there are a lot of hotkeys for Windows that are available. Where's a good place to pick up hotkeys for Windows? I'll search on DuckDuckGo. That's one of my preferred search engines. And there's all kinds of shortcuts you can find out here. WinR, new note, and a few actions happen. Oh, win and a number will open the corresponding taskbar item. Yep. So you want to add additional features. Off the top of my head, you know what? I haven't done that level of customization. Right. Create Windows 10 custom hotkeys. Let's see what we got here. Create keyboard shortcuts, add new custom hotkeys. So there are ways to do it. I haven't gotten into it. Auto hotkey, I've heard folks use that. Yep. You can write scripts, you can write PowerShell scripts, even command scripts that will run and execute various features in Windows 10 if you'd like. There's some great recommendations there in the chat room. Win-E followed by Alt-D will put you in the address bar. So that's Windows E. Alt-D put me in the address bar there, and then I'm off and running. So I use Control-W to close. You could use Alt-F4, but I'm on a laptop that has mixed function keys with different functions for the laptop, so it's easier for me to not use the function keys. So, all right, I want to take a look at the issues here, and I think I want to find something for us to work on today. DevBranch CS Proj references the missing client app folder. Well, I think that's an easy one for us to fix today. So I'm going to open this up and we'll take a look at putting together a quick fix. This is a comment from our friend, SQL Mr. Magoo. Thanks so much for pointing this out. I feel like I continue to struggle with keeping my source code sane. No, keeping it in a good state when I'm committing and pushing it around here in GitHub. Hey, no problem, Andy, for the shortcut recommendations there. And there's Brendan with the .NET bot. So the .NET bot on Twitch is an emote that you can get if you're a subscriber. Of course, if you have Amazon Prime, you can turn that into a Twitch Prime subscription for free. And if your Twitch Prime subscription, if you apply that to my channel, you'll get access to the .NET bot, and you can use that in the chat room if you'd like. And it shows your support for the channel, and I donate all proceeds from the channel. I match all proceeds from the channel with my own personal funds and donate those to Girl Develop It. That's a nonprofit organization that helps to teach women and underserved minorities development skills, how to write code. Really good organization. You know, I'm proud of the work that they've been able to do over there. So I have Visual Studio here. Let me confirm which branch I'm on here locally. So let me go to Dev. I'll go to Fritz StreamTools. That's not StreamTools. That is. All right. And then I like to run PowerShell while I'm in here because I have PoshGit installed. And PoshGit gives me the ability to see a little bit more information right here on my prompt about my Git environment as I'm working. So I can see that there's 3 changed files, and these are those 3 changed files. Now these are the files I was working on with Brady on Tuesday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a git commit on this. I'm going to call it work in progress with @BradyGaster. That way when I push it up, he gets tagged, and he'll see that push, and then he'll be able to work on that. Oh, I need to set my upstream. So the upstream that Git is complaining about here is what is that default endpoint that I want to push to when I just say git push? Is there a reason I don't use git bash? I like git bash. That's a nice shell. I like using PoshGit because I have some of these other things in here, and I'm trying to myself grow and learn more PowerShell. I feel like I've got enough experience with bash that I'm comfortable with that. I could certainly use the Linux subsystem for Windows and I could use Git right from there, because all of my code that I'm writing here as part of this project is for .NET Core, which runs cross-platform, so it will work in the Linux subsystem. But I'm trying to learn a little bit more PowerShell. This is my personal growth, is running PowerShell. It's not a because it's Microsoft thing. So good question. Thank you, Autonomy Live. I appreciate that. Okay, so I've pushed up my changes here, and if I just take a peek at my code over here, I want to make sure that Brady's tagged properly, so that I can go and nag him later because he was offering to take a look at some of those things. Let's take a look at the commit. There we go. Work in progress with @BradyGaster, and that should. There he is. There's Brady. Hi, Brady. All right. So that's tagged properly. So www JS goal configuration should reference client app. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to jump back over to the dev branch, and I'm going to pull in the current version of the dev branch, and then we'll run this quick. Autonomy says, makes sense, PowerShell is awesome. You're right. Full .NET library in a shell. There's lots you can do with it, right? There's tremendous flexibility with it. PowerShell, of course, is now open source, and you can run PowerShell on things that aren't Windows, like Mac and Linux. So check that out if you're interested in learning a little bit more about PowerShell. All right, so let's bring in recent projects. There it is. Let's open my project. Wow, a lot of folks watching here this morning. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you on such short notice joining me here today. And of course, I fly home from Seattle back to Philly tonight. I fly back tonight. So I'll be back in Philadelphia tomorrow morning, and I'll be streaming Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, my normal time. I really like when I get back, when I've got that first stream back in Philadelphia, playing that song from the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia show, right? So It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, really almost vulgar show on FX. But there was a commercial they had a few years ago called Go, and it was a song going back to Philly, and I like to play that in the background while we're starting up. Organic IT, oh man, not streaming from the treehouse. The treehouse is, you know what, I haven't been to the treehouse, and I've got a free afternoon today. I've got a couple meetings with some of my development teams. I'm going to try and sneak over there if I can find it, because I don't know where it is. So, and the lighting isn't the greatest in here right now. I don't know how to turn on some of these other lights, and I don't want to mess with it. You know what I mean? Oh man, that's Alf. Brendan's referring to the Overwatch League. My home team, the Philadelphia Fusion, so playing Overwatch, professional esports. They got walloped pretty good by Seoul last night, which is kind of weird for somebody who's used to American sports to hear Philadelphia versus Seoul, South Korea. That's different. That's almost as different to my ears as Philadelphia versus London, right? It's like, we don't play London, we're Philadelphia. We play New York and Washington and Boston and Chicago. To play Seoul, that's kind of weird. Organic IT says, with all the construction planned, Redmond campus is going to look 100% different. In a couple years it will. There's a master plan to make the Redmond campus of Microsoft here a lot more green, a lot more friendly to the environment, create a lot more open space. It looks really exciting. So, what do we got there? Autonomy Live, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you clicking through and joining us here. I agree, Organic IT. I can't wait to see how it turns out. It's gonna, the renderings they're beautiful. I hear some folks that work in other tech companies in this region, they refer to the Microsoft campus as the country club. Okay. Whatever makes you happy. It's a pretty beautiful campus already. All right, so I'm just going to exclude from project this client app folder that doesn't have anything in it. Save this off. Tagaron, thanks so much for the subscription. I really appreciate you joining me here and committing, and I will, of course, make sure that Girl Develop It gets a fine donation from you and our other subscribers. Thank you very much for helping out, and enjoy the .NET body mode. Gosh, I'm seriously I'm thrilled when I see that. You know, I'm flattered when you folks subscribe. That really means something to me. Thank you. Oh my gosh, what do we got here? Big comment from Ace Flames here. Can you please explain best cases to use a func? I've been struggling in other people's code when func or action I'll get back to that in just a minute. I want to finish reading this. Or Funker action is used. It's less readable and just seems overcomplicated code. If you could give a real project example, it would help a lot. Thanks. I remember you had a funk in your project and I just can't understand the need for it. Thank you. You know what, Ace Flames here? That's a great idea. Let's take a look at we'll take a look at using a little bit of that here, and I completely understand why you would say that a funk or an action is a little confusing. So let me commit this little change here to my project, and then let's explore how those are being used in our code. And of course, is that IT Goran? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us here this morning over there on Twitch. That's great. Thank you. And gosh, we are almost halfway to our 2,500 goal for an architecture workshop. Of course, I ran an ASP.NET Core workshop last month. You can still find that in the video archive out there. I encourage you to check that out if you want to see me and some of our MVP friends and some of my colleagues teach ASP.NET Core for 8 hours. I have another one planned. It's going to be askme.net, and I'll answer questions like Ace Flames has here, but I want you to be able to bring your projects, and we'll work together on that and solve those on stream together. But this next one will be an 8-hour architecture workshop. All right, enough about that. Let me commit this change, and let's talk a little bit about some of those generic methods, func and action. All right, so if I press a carriage return here, you see Git is telling me that there is a file that changed, and it's my CS proj file. In fact, I can do a git diff, and it'll show me that the include here for that client app folder is now gone. Let's see. Let's just commit this change, remove the extra client app folder to resolve. And the issue that Mr. Magoo opened for us, this is 61. So if I put a hash 61 here, and I git push this, so that'll go up into my source code on GitHub. There it is. And if I refresh this, it'll show I added a commit that referenced this issue. And what's that say? This commit closes issue 61. Fantastic. But it didn't actually close it. So I'll click close there, and we've got that resolved. So thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Magoo. So what I'm going to do, wow, a lot of discussion on this issue. But I want to answer the question that our friend Ace Flames here had there. One of my favorite uses is predicate builder, which allows you to dynamically build link where clauses. Yes. So the concept of action and func. Right, let's take a look at these, because I do have them used. Let's see, let's close this one. You know what? The music stopped. It's like the day the music died. Why am I not hearing music anymore? There it is. All right. All right. Papa Plays says, hey man, I'm number 2 on DevStream TV, which just hit the front page of Hacker News. Oh, the title of the stream is Cancel Stream. Oh, you're right. I should update that. Thank you so much. Let's do that right now. I'm going to run over to Restream. Restream's the service. You're right, Papa Plays. The channel title is not accurate. So let's do this. Oh my gosh. So let's do live coding, func, and action, and your questions about .NET. How's that? That's pretty good. Sorry, I thought you didn't get my first message. Not about, actually, Papa Plays Nightbot saw the DevStream TV link and got a little anxious there and censored that. I see all and know all. Okay, I can't back that up. All right, but wow, DevStream TV. What's DevStream TV? Is that something I should know about? Let's just take a peek at what this is. Watch 5 developers streaming right now. Hey, that's me. That's pretty cool. All right. Thanks so much, Papa Plays. I appreciate you sharing that. Cool. I'm gonna have to bookmark that and come back and check out DevStream TV later. That looks really neat. But I want to answer the question we had right here from, and I'm gonna forget it, from what was it, Ace Flames here? Is that it? So let's talk about funk and action. These are C# language features, um, and you also get them in VB. They're slightly different syntax because they have a generic syntax that you can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close all these things down. And I do want to show you where we are using a func of T here in the code, because when I initially accepted this pull request to the comment, absolutely it was a little bit it was a bit gosh, why can't I see the stream chat here on my Twitch? I want to be over here. Yeah, I'm not seeing chat in the Twitch chat room. On the dashboard. Okay, so action and func of T, they're features that you can use, and it's kind of confusing how they were used in this code submission. I just want to look over and respond to some of the chat messages real quick. IT Goran says, can you share the song name collection in the background? Absolutely. This is Music to Code By from Carl Franklin. He's a great friend of ours who graciously allowed us to use some of his music as background here on the stream. This music Carl has designed specifically to help get you in the flow, make it easier for you to write code. If you go out to my GitHub and you check out the live stream GitHub repository, which you can find links to on both of the front pages of Mixer and Twitch, there's a link out to Carl's music here. You can purchase the album if you'd like. He also has a service that you can set up on your phone with an app called Music to Flow By. This song is called Green, and it was on his original collection of songs that was published. So there you go. Check that out. I know Carl would appreciate your interest in his music. All that talk on Tuesday's stream was good. Janescu says you're right. I think it was good. I need to figure out a way to do more of that. I'm here at Channel 9. I might see if I can find some of the hosts and maybe try and recruit them to do a maybe one day a week, just chat for a little bit about different tech things. Another use case is a generic repository interface. Oh my gosh, Standby Reloading is talking about a model here, a use case that I really like. In Standby Reloading, I want to show that. But let me start at the simple cases here. The code that I received is this right here, and this looks really confusing because I have configure stream service and I pass in configuration, and then there's all this code that doesn't look like a statement all wired up. So let's poke into that a little bit. I'm going to go into class view. I don't want class view. I want a new class. There we go. We'll just call it class because I want to create a little scratch area here for us to look at. So let's take a look at this. Hang on while I actually you. The blue, orange, and yellow are the original MTCB. Are they? Is green one of the second? You know what it is. I'm sorry, you're right. Green was in the second album. Thank you. So when I consider and I look at, how's that font size? That font size is small. Oh my gosh. My apologies. Let's bump up that font size. There we go. Yeah, right. Fonts and colors, here we go. Now it's at 14. I'm going to push this up just a little bit more. How's that? Is that a little bit better for that font size? That would be really awesome. Jeff is good at explaining to beginners. Thank you, Ace Flames here. I appreciate that. So, actions and funcs are a way for you to define a method that you want to call back to. You want to pass around a method signature that when when whatever other method that you're actually executing, you actually want to delay and say, when you're done all these other things, go execute this, right? And they've got this really generic signature, right? So if I just type this out and we start to look at this a little bit. So just looking at the IntelliSense, action encapsulates a method that has no parameters and does not return a value. But the generic syntax here, right, and it's generic because it has those angle brackets, right? Encapsulates a method that has no parameters and does not return a value. But I can start to specify my other parameters of this action. So maybe I want to receive a string, and I call this, let's actually put this into a method, right? Let's public void do stuff, okay? So if I can create an action that, let's say it takes a string, but it doesn't return anything. And let's just call this say hello, okay? Now, this is a method signature. So this is like writing a method that will be called back into. So I could do something like, right, this is going to take, right, so this parameter is, it's going to take a string. So I can say, I don't have that syntax right. I can say s and then console.writeLine s. All right, so I've created a little method here, right? And I can even wrap it like that. So I have this little method now that's stashed in a variable called say hello, that when I'm ready to use it, I can actually call that instead. So check this out. If I want to, am I missing a? There we go. All right. So in C#, when I'm ready to use this, right, I could do stuff like, console.writeLine. We're going to do stuff, and then I can actually say hello and call it with that input parameter that it knows about because I've declared say hello as an action. So I could pass into this hello ace flame seer. Okay, so I've kind of redirected and I can encapsulate my logic in this action. Now, writing an action like this and as simple as this feels a little cheesy. I could, of course, point instead of say hello at console writeLine like this. I could also have a method hanging out here called public void write to the console string text to output, right? And maybe I do something in here like console writeLine text to output, okay? Instead of wrapping and creating this type of syntax, and this syntax is called an anonymous function because it doesn't have a name, I can actually delete that and say this action is actually this method, okay? So I'm passing that method name, and because I'm not using the parentheses next to that method name here on line 14, it won't execute the method. It'll assign that to the say hello variable, and then later on here, it'll actually pass this variable into this method and then process, and we can continue normally at that point, okay? So this is a way for us to provide a level of indirection here. Now, func is exactly like action. And to be clear, actions also, because they're generic, there's actually signatures here for lots and lots of input parameters. Now, as a developer that looks at this and thinks about upwards to 16 input parameters for a method, that's a little crazy. And I would consider wrapping up some of those parameters as a more complex object and pass that complex object into my method. But it's up to you, right? This is your application to design. This is your method to design. Do what makes you happy. So thank you so much, everybody that's tuning in right now on Twitch. My gosh, we're over 82 followers on 82 viewers on Twitch right there. I saw that pop up for a second. Wow, lots and lots of folks out there joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we're going to talk a little bit here about generics and some of these methods that you can use around actions and functs, right? So I explained that an action doesn't return a value, but we can turn this around. We can use a func. All right. So if we create a func, the first parameter to it is what you're going to return. So you're returning a value. So maybe I want to return an integer, and I'm sorry, it's the last parameter. I always get these backwards. So maybe I want to put together a simple calculate method. All right. And for this one, I could say, when you look at this func, remember the order here is input parameters, and then the last one is the output parameter, the output value type. All right. So I want to pass in two integers. So we will pass in, let's call it I and J, and I can redirect that into another anonymous type here. That's fine. And I can say, return I plus J. And that satisfies because I'm taking in two integers and I'm returning an integer. So instead of saying say hello, right, I could do, well, say hello doesn't exist anymore, right? I can now say calculate and pass in my two values, and they're just labeled as argument 1 and argument 2. So I can say 2 and 4, and it'll do that calculation and return an integer. So there's a func. Okay, so it gives us a way to do that same indirection of defining a function that we want to call at a later time. Now, Brendan and who are our other friends here that were talking about it? Standby reloading. We're talking about generic repositories. Now, this I think is a great pattern that we can use as part of .NET that makes things a heck of a lot easier. So you see when I use these angle brackets in our definition, I can generically put a type in here, right? I could return this as a string. I'm sorry. I could return a string, right? That's my out parameter. And I could turn this around and say toString. And now, right, I can pass these things around. Oh gosh, and Brendan's actually saying you could make your calculate receive an actual function that describes the different mathematic operation you want. There's another cool idea, right? Let me just show that quickly. Let's make this return a decimal, not a decimal. All right, so I could have a method here called calculate, and I could take it int parm1, int parm2, and then I could receive a func that takes in an int and returns a decimal, and we'll call this operation. And then I can have my calculate method just call operation and pass in parm1 and parm2. All right. Now, why doesn't it like that? Oh, actually, I have to return it. There we go. All right. So I've offloaded. I'm receiving what this operation definition is, and I'm doing something after the fact. So I could have a whole bunch of these defined, laying out there in my code, and pass them in when I need them, and provide that last second choice of what method I want to call. But I want to get into this generic repository discussion because I think that's something pretty cool too. So I'm going to do an Alt-Shift-C, and I'm going to create another class. And this time let's not start off with a class. Let's start off with a generic repository concept. So I talked briefly about generics. We can change the way they behave slightly. I can call this iRepository of type T. Right? Now, capital T is kind of a convention for some type that I'm going to apply to this repository. I'm going to define methods. I'm going to define things that you can do that will interact with some generic T type that we'll specify later. Great to see you, Joe Blunt. Thanks so much. Darth Minos, little action. Little action? Huh? You type the repo. I do. Let me get back. Brendan might have an interesting idea, but let me show you what I'm doing. So what I can do here is I can specify that this interface is going to have, I want to have a get method, right? Get by ID, and all of my objects are going to have some sort of a identifier that's an integer, perhaps. I could have return an I enumerable of type T, get all, right? I can create a method called add, right? So void add, and that'll take new object. I could create update, int ID T object to update, and then delete, right? And maybe that just takes an ID. It doesn't deal with T. So this interface, oh, Brendan's going a little bit further on this. Let's explain this just a little bit. My bot, I don't know what bot you're talking about. Add should return the T, standby reloading is saying. I'm not opposed to that. Okay, we can do that. So I now have these simple methods defined on a generic repository interface. And I can start popping out repositories that implement this a little bit closer. Sneeko asks, what's the other mic that you use? I normally use a Rode Podcaster. You can see more details about some of the hardware I use in my rig if you go to live.jeffreyfritz.com and you click through there. There's a podcasting 101 link on my blog that you can check out that'll tell you more about the rig that I use, the green screen that I use when I'm at home in my normal office, and some of the hardware that I'm using here. I've got 3 machines here, so I can see a little bit of everything that's going on. All right, so I have this generic repository object, so now I can do things like, let's see, Brendan would like to see the same thing on update. All right, we can return the T also here. So let's do that. But when I implement this for an actual object, right, maybe I have a class called product, right? And product, of course, products in every system have an ID, and they have a name, right? And of course, here in the States, they're going to have a price in US dollars, okay? If I want to create the repository that's going to allow me to work on those products, I can do it really easily by saying public class product repository, and I can implement iRepository, and my T I can specify is a product. So now Visual Studio is upset because I haven't implemented my interface. So I'll control dot here, and I'll implement that interface. All right, so it creates, now look, right, my interface defined these things, get by ID returned a T. Well, now get by ID returns a product because it's implemented generically on that interface. Okay. All right. So I can now implement these and do appropriate things necessary for my product repository. So, I might, whatever it is that I would do to interact with my entity framework repository, or maybe I'm using a NoSQL repository, something like MongoDB or Cosmos DB. You can use those, or Redis, right? We like Redis also. You can interact with those generically using this repository object, and the fact that you are using Redis or one of those other providers is transparent to our developers. And I can move this repository out into a class, and I can do all kinds of great things with that. But where my func and action methods come in here and we can have a little bit of fun with is when I'm actually processing and using this class after the fact. So I'll create another class here and we'll, do something with repository. All right. So now let's create a public void execute. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm just trying to show a sample here. Okay. So if I have a repository, it's a new product repository. I can do something like repository.getAll. And then here's where Brendan and Standby Reloading were saying you can chain methods. So this is now returning an IEnumerable, right? An IEnumerable in .NET parlance is a collection of, in this case, products that I can act on in a forward-moving method. Okay, so I can act on each one of the products. It'll move forward in the collection, and you can inspect them. You can do whatever you'd like with them. So maybe I want to get just the products that are more expensive than $10. So I can do things and chain onto that these other funcs that have been defined, including something like where. So where is a func that returns an IEnumerable of product, and I can pass into this a func that returns a Boolean but takes a product and returns a product. Returns a Boolean. Okay, so check this out. So I can say P, and then I use, you'll hear my colleague refer to this arrow as the Anders operator. JavaScript folks will refer to this as the fat arrow. But what we can do now is we can inspect that and determine whether or not we want to return that object. So if we only want to return products that are greater than $10, I can say P price USD greater than 10M. And now this func that we've passed in that knows how to do that greater than $10 is being passed in and executes later and will return a Boolean true if it's greater than $10, and it will be included in the collection that is output here. So var, let's call this products greater than $10. All right. So I'm getting all the products and I'm passing this in to check after the fact. Now this is an IEnumerable that I'm working on. Let's see, Brendan says, I primarily use it for separating out concepts like logging, caching. Yes, absolutely. There's all kinds of ways that you can use this with your data access layer. Now, we're working with, and there's lots of other ones you can do in here, right? I can do things like max, right? And max is typically an aggregate that we use. But I could say, let's look at the max, and I can inspect the product, and I could say, find the max price in dollars, and it'll find me that product whose price is greater than 10 and that has the highest price and return that one product, right? Max returns max returns a decimal. It'll return what that maximum price is. So you've got a whole bunch of these functions hanging out there that are attached to this collection that you can use. Now, this is on an IEnumerable, and we can actually do some really interesting things if we're working with Entity Framework, because Entity Framework returns an IQueryable. So an IEnumerable is a collection that's sitting in memory that you're inspecting in a forward-only way. An IQueryable is a definition of a query that you're concatenating onto, you're building out, and at some point you're going to execute. And when that execute happens, it's going to take all of those commands that you've chained on that may look exactly like this, send them to whatever the provider is that owns that iQueryable, and execute that query at that time on that provider and give you that final realized collection. Standby Reloading says, so you could take that a step further and make your getAll, take an expression of func t bool and pass the where clause directly. Oh, yes. Okay. So standby reloading, he knows what's going on here. This is something that I've done in the past. Is you right? Let me show you what he's referring to, because it's another neat technique you can use. If I want to return an IEnumerable of product, I can specify get, and here I specify a func that'll take a product. I'm sorry. Yep, and bool, and I can call this where. All right. So now, what's that upset about? I'm not returning anything yet. So now I could do something like return get all dot where, and then pass in that where clause. So now wherever I am in my code, I can call get and pass in my qualification, and it'll output appropriately. And Brendan's saying that he prefers to use list of t. List of t, IEnumerable, doesn't matter. You can use, there's lots of different ways. List of t is an object, a generic object that can be accessed by index, and you could search, sort, manipulate those lists. You might need to do that, but it's also a collection that you can add to. You can add to it easily. That might be desirable for you. It might not. The significance is the I specification, not the list. What a useless get all. You're right. And you know what? I'm trying to show some sample code here. What is that? Foo Barius. You know, thanks so much for chiming in there in the chat room. All right. So let's move just a little bit further. I want to show you just what iQueryable is. In Entity Framework, right? So let me just, right, we might have, right, maybe it's my context, right, and this is a DB context. There we go, Entity Framework Core in this case, because I'm using .NET Core, so that runs cross-platform. I can have inside my Entity Framework context here a DB set of type product, and these are my products, get set. Now, a DB set is a collection. So in my method up here, instead of saying new product repository, maybe I say new context. And now if I said var products over $10, I could say repository products where. Let's put that on another line to make it a little bit readable, because it's going to get larger. Right, p dot price is greater than 10M. Okay, so I'm doing that comparison. Now, if you look at products and you look at the where now returns an iQueryable. So what Entity Framework lets us do is it lets us put together, here's all the query things that I want to do, and if I'm connecting to a database with Entity Framework, this iQueryable will be turned into a query with that where statement on it. A normal SQL select query, right? It'll turn this into select star from products where price USD greater than 10. It does that for you. Entity Framework does that for you. And when you start to access this object, it'll execute and it'll send that command to the database, execute, come back, and give you just those products that you asked for. So, and you can kind of force it to execute when you want it to by then passing on to array or to list, and it'll do that transformation for you at that time. So Ace Flames here follows up and says, how would you implement your own where? That would be nice to see, and returning an IEnumerable. And what do you mean by implementing my own where? Standby Reloading says, I posted it just a while back on what my repo pattern used to look like. Terrific. So that's a lot. I just went through there about func and action, a little bit about Entity Framework. Does that clear a bit of this up for you? Tell me what you're looking for there, Ace Flames here, around a where. Give me some details there, and we could take a quick look at that, and then I want to get back into our other code. This is a good question. Thank you for starting the conversation, and the folks in the chat room. I appreciate you chiming in here. Dean888 asks, "What are we coding?" So I'm normally working on a project that does that adds some of the widgets that you see here on the stream. Using ASP.NET Core with C#, but we had a question from our friend Ace Flameseer in the Twitch chat room asking about how func and action objects are used in .NET. And I don't know why my Twitch chat room, my Twitch dashboard isn't showing me the folks who are in Twitch right now. Twitch did this thing where they started creating rooms for folks. And yeah, stream chat. I want to see my stream chat. And there's nothing there on my dashboard. Oh, Twitch. Twitch, Twitch, Twitch. If only you were as cool as Mixer. Okay. I just need to use it a little bit more and I'll understand it better. Oh, that's terrific, Ace Flames here. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions and we can take a look. What is the benefit of a repository pattern on top of Entity Framework? Jester asks. It's an abstraction. Standby reloading makes a very good point. It's an abstraction so that right, database folks like to change the way that their database is structured. Entity Framework needs to be tightly coupled to that structure. So if your Entity Framework code changes to keep up with how the database schema is designed, you may end up with some ripples there. And by adding a repository in front of Entity Framework, it allows you to keep that code isolated in a library and out of some of your front-end user interface concerns. Now, there are some folks that say you're just adding abstractions for the case of abstractions. Perhaps, but I think it allows me to keep my data folks focused on data and my front-end folks focused on front-end user interface concerns, because they can continue to work with the repository through an interface, right? Or directly, right, by executing one of these repository methods. And if the code inside that method changes, that's okay, right? Maybe there's some optimization that happens. Maybe some of the objects get moved from this Entity Framework connection that's running to SQL Server over to, file storage out on Azure, right? Or a Cosmos DB or somewhere else. It gives you that separation. Let's see. Using for building a new array to return or a query builder. I just didn't know how to put it. Let's not care about where my data comes from. I could access it from DB, file system, web API without knowing where it comes from. Brendan makes a great point there. Yep. It provides that abstraction and let the data folks put it where it makes sense. Cool. I swear that Brendan and I are not the same person. That's great. No, I appreciate both Standby Reloading and Brendan helping out folks in the chat room there. But let's make sure that some of those folks get a chance to ask their questions and have their comments. We've got a lot of folks hanging out today. I want to hear from you. Everybody's happy to hear your questions. Let us know if there's something that you'd like a little bit of help with. But I want to show you a little bit about this project, and maybe there's something that we can learn and figure out here today. Jester says, great explanation, thanks. And thanks to all that added extra info. That's terrific. I'm glad you got a little bit of feedback there, Jester. And please, anytime you have a question, let us know. There's a number of MVPs that are watching and joining in. And how did you know my name was Brendan, Dev Chatter? Okay, Brendan's got 2 accounts actually connected into the chat room. That's a little crazy, dude. All right. I'm going to delete these classes because I don't need them for this project. So, all right, I'll remove that one. And I did speak to some of my colleagues while I was here on campus, and I'm going to try and get Mads Torgerson to join us. He's the program manager, the language designer for C#. I'm going to try and have him join us here in the next few weeks, and we can take a look at some cool C# features and how we can take advantage of them. My friend Imo Landworth, who works on the .NET Core framework, want to have him join us and talk a little bit about span of T and some of those memory features that are coming in the new versions of .NET. So I've got some guests coming up here that'll be a lot of fun, and the bosses want to join at some point. We'll see how that works. All right, let's go back here. I want to revisit some of the code, some of the questions that we had here. I have this one here, and this one's really bothering me. I need to better handle 500 errors from the Twitch service. So what I'm running into right now is, and you can't see it really with, wow, look at that. You know, I've got the white screen up and you can actually see my face because of the lighting in this room. This application connects to and it listens, using the developer tools, it listens to the current status of a Twitch channel. And if something happens and Twitch has a hiccup and it throws a 500, right? It throws an error on their side, which happens. These things happen. I need to make sure that I don't crash. That's a bad thing, right? So, can I get some information about the architecture workshop, Bippin Paul asks. So, I don't know yet. It's when we hit 2,500 followers, we'll schedule it. Our friend Steve Smith that joined me about a week or two ago, he's offered to join and help with that discussion. I'll recruit some other MVPs and well-known speakers to help us out, and we'll structure a good-sized system that will scale or behave appropriately, and we'll talk about different things to consider with architecture. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for right now. All right, so I want to handle 500 errors better from Twitch. Now, inside my code here, I actually interact with Twitch here in this class, Twitch service. And I'm using a library called TwitchLib. Here, you can see it in the using statements up here on lines 10 and 11. And this will do my interaction with Twitch, proxies all that out there so that I hopefully don't have to worry about that. So what's happening is sometime while I'm connected to Twitch, Twitch throws an error and all of my little bots and things stop working. That's not cool. I want those to continue working. My local follower count bug isn't working up there. Well, that's a shame. Ah, there it goes. And it's just off. There we go. All right. So how do we, Polly could help with retry policy. Ooh, Jester, you got an idea here. And if the service is still not working, revert to cache, maybe. You've got an interesting idea there. I like where you're going. Okay, so allow me to explain for folks who aren't familiar with Polly. Polly is a library. This table is not stable. Here we go. Polly is a library that our friends at AppVNext, that's actually Carl Franklin's company, the folks who make the music Carl makes the music that we're listening to. Polly is there you go, .NET Resilience and Transient Fault Handling Library, blah, 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 blah. So it lets us handle errors and retry things in a thread-safe manner without having to write a lot of code to say, oh, well, it didn't work this time, back off and try again in 10 seconds. It didn't work this time, let's back off and wait 15 seconds. So this library will help you write some of that code without writing all the code, all of that interaction stuff. It gives you some good standard practices that you can use. And in fact, Polly is, I believe, yes, it is a member of our .NET Foundation. If you're not familiar, .NET Foundation is a nonprofit organization that manages a lot of open source projects that are written in .NET and target the .NET frameworks so that folks who may have legal concerns about using open source projects, or if they have concerns about the lifetime and stability of a project, .NET Foundation can help those projects to give legal advice, to give some of those different things that a project needs in order to be long-term maintained and behave more like a project owned by a software company. Even though it's really a bunch of folks that are building something that is interesting to them and they want to continue maintaining. So I certainly could use Poly for this. I'm not familiar with using Poly, but my first problem is I got to identify where my problem is that is going to cause this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually, because I'm having a problem with lighting today, I'm going to change my theme in Visual Studio. And I'm going to go to the blue theme. And the font size is all wrong. Thanks. Thanks. Of course. Font. Let's bump that font size back up. Who do we got here? 6 pound wed? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. There, now you can see my face. That's better. And Brendan says we're all blind now. Hey, sorry about that. But you can see me now. Okay. So, let's take a look here. I tried to capture and handle an error while I was connecting and listening to Twitch right here. So when we're checking the views, we're getting access to the stream, and if there's a JSON reader exception, error reading from Twitch, just return. We'll try it again later. That's not bad. Oops. So let me wander. See, it's not clear to me exactly where the error is, and it's not clear to me how exactly I could force an error. Part of me wants to just turn this into catch exception. So it doesn't matter what type of exception it is. Log it to the console and continue going, so that we don't have it just flat out crash. So looking here, we start this service, this start service here, creates a connection to the Twitch API, and listens and does, and will respond as events are raised back to it over WebSockets. This is the technology it uses. Brendan and Standby Reloading are saying, hey, use exception filters. You're in modern C#. Well then. But here's the thing. I don't really need an exception filter here because I don't care what the exception is. Just log it. But I want to show just a second here what they're talking about with exception filters. Okay. Also, shouldn't your async methods return task instead of void? These are timer methods, and they're async only because where is it? We're doing this here. I mean, sure, we should probably return a task there, but that's going to break this, right? Because my timer takes a timer callback, which is supposed to return void. So it doesn't matter. It's being run asynchronously. I'm kind of okay with this. What Brendan's pointing at is I can do something like what is it? Where EX, right, is what was it? JSON reader exception. Isn't that the syntax? I'm blanking on the syntax here. exception, filters, C#. Ah, when. I think that goes on the other side of the param. Yeah, and it's after the parens. Yep. So when, and then you apply some sort of a filter. Right. So I could say when EX is, what was it, JSON reader exception. And then do this. Or I could say catch. But see, this feels weird, right? This, right, why not just receive, right, I don't really need this when EX, I can just turn this into JSON reader exception, and I can get rid of that. Logger, log error. Error while communicating with Twitch, right? And then I can log that information so I know a little bit more about what's happening, but I'm still not handling, I don't know if I'm handling the interaction properly. Filters are best when checking something on the instance of an exception, such as an error number. Yes, that's a great way to. That's a great thing to comment there, Jester. Right, I could do something like when ex dot, right, and I can really inspect this and look for something specific. My problem that I have is I'm trapped by this library here. And if it's not handling the 500 error properly, excuse me, ooh, my apologies. So you can check that beforehand next time. I'm not sure I follow Fubarius. Can you give me a little bit more context around your comment there? I like where you're going. The actual the network communication is being handled inside of TwitchLib. It's not something that I can manage. Ah! I stepped on the table leg again, and it's. I mean, and actually, I think there was an update to that TwitchLib package since we used it. The Hugo doll is now following us. Welcome, Hugo. I appreciate the follow. Why not implement the exponential backoff algorithm for handling this kind of glitch caused by a temporary error? Asks Isaac Powell. Yes, absolutely. In our Mixer connection, we can do that. The Twitch connection, though, is going through this other library that somebody else is maintaining that does all of those connections. And I could do it with, and you know, that is managing the network connection should do that. Great. Hey, cheers to you too, Hugo. Great to see you joining us. So JSON reader exception works, but when we don't control the type TwitchLib gives us, we can use filters to handle things. We can hit to handle those differently. You're right. You're right, but I'm having a hard time recreating the error and trying to figure out what else I can do here. Let me update. Maybe the TwitchLib has better handling in here. So I'm just going to update. I have 159 is the package version that I have installed. And I'm going to update to 161. And we're done. That just works. Oh, and look at this. Our ASP.NET Core libraries have gone from 2.0 to the 2.1 Preview 1 version that's available out there. And DevChatter found out the one splitting in the TwitchLib, and the creator of the lib said that That method is a mess. Okay, you know what? Maybe there's an opportunity for us to submit a pull request to TwitchLib. Dev Chatter did look under the hood. Um, okay, I thought exception filters are more, for example, handling HTTP exceptions for certain property values. Yes, you can do that too. Absolutely. Right? Or SQL exceptions for various things you want to inspect about the database connection. We're handling an issue, Brendan, we're handling an issue of 500 errors being thrown. Dev Chatter, well, Swifty Pity, yes, said that someone can offer a fix for it. Well then, I may leave that to somebody else to put together. I've only got about 25 more minutes here that I can continue streaming. But this feels half complete. I'm not thrilled with it, but it does enough for that. That's what we're doing tomorrow. Oh, Dev Chatter is going to work on putting some retry and inspection in there for the 500. Oh, that's very cool. So I encourage you to check out Dev Chatter's stream tomorrow. They're going to peek under the hood of TwitchLib and see what they can do to help that out. Very cool. Okay, so I've added another catch here. Like I said, I'm not thrilled with it, but and I certainly don't want to close this out. This is 56, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's just git commit this. Added an extra catch in, where was it? In check views to attempt to hide the 500 error from Twitch. And this is for, and I'm not closing this, for 56. And I'll push that. So now that's out there. Shmuley, hello, good to see you. Alright, so that's pushed up, and if I go back over to GitHub, it should see that I added that extra bit there, but I don't want to close this issue out because I don't think it's a complete solution yet, and I think Dev Chatter may have a good solution coming tomorrow. Alright, let's see what else can we take a look at here. So we spent some time looking at that. You know what? I saw there was that ASP.NET preview available, and if you look at my dependencies, let me pop open NuGet. There you go. So you can see here I'm using ASP.NET Core 203, and I'm using ASP.NET Core SignalR 100 Alpha. Alpha feels a little weird. So maybe I can do an upgrade there. Fubarius asks, are there any exceptions that are okay to come up there? To debug the problem, the message stack trace are super useful. So logging all details every time means you have the sufficient data to fix it before it'll happen again. You're right. I see Fubarius did a little wake and bake. Very nice. If that works in your locale, good for you. In Philadelphia, where I'm from, we can't do that. Here in Seattle, more power to you. You should only catch an exception you expect and know what to do with, otherwise let it crash. Well, right now, Shmuley, I'm having a problem where it does crash and it affects the stream. So I just want to log the information for now so that I can start to try and get that and inspect it a little bit. But I think it sounds like our friend Dev Chatter there has a good idea of how to fix this and solve the problem at a lower level in my stack than what I'm currently looking at. Bruno, hey, good morning, Bruno. Bruno dialing in from Brazil, right? SignalR is included in 2.1, right? Yes. Am I planning to update it from 2.0 to 2.1? Let's do it. My friend Damian Edwards showed me how to do this, so I'm gonna I want to take a shot and see what we can do to make this work. Now, is it really as easy as just saying select all packages and update? Now, fortunately, right, I'm in my dev branch, everything's committed, so if this doesn't work, I can revert. Excuse me. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Is it really just this easy? So I clicked update. You can see my package manager is going and getting all the new versions of packages for me. If it is this easy, more power to the ASP.NET team, ASP.NET Core team, because that's pretty impressive to be able to upgrade to a new version just by clicking update in my package manager. All right, package restore failed, rolling back changes. Detected package version outside of dependency constraint. Microsoft.NET SDK versions 106 requires Azure Web Jobs, but version Azure Web Jobs beta was resolved. Othello Fun, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us here this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you are. That was for our functions project. That is I thought it was outside of this. Yeah, that's in our Stream Analytics project. So what's it crowing about over there? The issue I see with catching everything is you aren't expecting it and know what to do at this stage could be questionable. Yes. Sure, the code will continue to run, but running and should correct are not the same. Correct. My problem is if it crashes, all of the widgets that you see on stream stop working. And that is unacceptable while I'm running a stream. If it was, you know, hey, you got a, happy message on a web page because you tried to put something in your shopping cart, it said, oh, sorry, we'll take care of this, try again a little bit later. That's not that big a deal. But if one of these widgets stops working, the video looks bad. And I need to look good. All right. So that didn't just update, and it looked like it was confused with another project. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go the old-fashioned way. I'm going to do what all the elite developers do, because elite developers edit their project files by hand. Maybe you need to consolidate the .NET NuGet package or update them in the solution. I don't know about that. Here's what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my .NET version. I'm on 2.1.100 preview, and I know there's a newer version since then. So I should probably grab that newer version of my .NET SDK tools. So let's go to .NET, say that 5 times fast, .NET, and I want downloads. I want the .NET Core SDK, look at that, 214, yes. Give me that, save that file. So this is the command line tool. This will give me everything that I need here. Fubarius, so this runs all the parts of this UI around your live coding. Yes. Oh, check it out, Fubarius. Look up top there. Here, no, I don't need to tell you a survey because I'm part of the team. So way up here, see the architecture workshop bar? That's generated from this web project. And over here where you see the followers count, that's generated from it. And even in the far right, in the far top corner, way above my head there, the viewer counts, that's generated from this ASP.NET Core project. So let me see if we can check in on this download. Hey, that's pretty cool. That was quick. Let me kick off this install. Now, why is it telling me that it's... Yeah, go ahead, cancel. So maybe I do have the latest version. All right. So let's do this. Let's go back into my project, and I'm going to change this to, I'm going to go down here. I should be able to remove the reference to ASP.NET Core because the new ASP.NET Core all package includes it. So let's change this to 2.1. Oh, look at that. I'll just auto-complete it. and I should be able to start using that version, right? Now I've got some red underlines over here because it's saying some things don't work. Typer namespace could not be found. Do I need to change this to Netcore App 2.1? Restore failed. All right. So let's take a look at our output. It's not compatible with Netcore App 2.0. Supports Netcore App 2.1. All right, so I did just change that. Let's do... Right, if I do a build now, it should force the reinstall. 2.1 now supports type-safe client calls, class myhub, ihub, cool. Good morning, Magnus. Clean and rebuild, standby reloading is suggesting. That's not a bad idea. So I'm getting typer namespace missing. Here we go. Alright, that's stuff about the functions in our stream analytics. I don't care about that project right now. It's not compatible with my test project. Is not compatible with Netcore App 2.0. StreamTools supports Netcore App 2.1. All right, I'm not worried about those just yet. I want to focus on just my StreamTools project. There we go. Which has a ton of problems. The current .NET SDK does not support targeting .NET Core 2.1. Either target .NET Core 2.0 or lower, or use a version of the .NET SDK that supports .NET Core 2.1. All right. What do we have here? Microsoft ASP.NET Core App rather than ASP.NET Core All now. No, it was All. It found that. All right, ASP.NET Core All. There it is. 2.10 preview final. That's the one I want. When in doubt, go to the blog. Web dev, there it is. Here we go. Da 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 da. Where's the inch? Stop it. Getting started with Signaler using ASP.NET Core previews. We put out a lot of blog posts about this. Here it is. Now available. So says Damien, right there. All is being replaced with app. All is still being supported for now. Are you kidding? Okay. Alright, giving feedback. Migrating. Here we go. Project starting in .NET Framework to .NET Core. Don't need to do this. So change target framework to Netcore App 2.1. Did that. In the same file, update the versions of various package reference elements for Microsoft ASP.NET Core, Microsoft Extensions, Entity Framework to 2.1 Preview 1 Final. Did that. In the same file, update various .NET CLI tool reference elements to 2.1 Preview 1 Final. So this one and this one should probably go 2.1. There we go. Come on. I'll leave that as 2.0. Alright. That should enough to get the project building and running against 2.10 Preview 1. Alright. So let's build this project. Build failed. Now folks were saying you're talking about the folks who changed the namespace name in a release candidate. Don't, yeah. All right, hang on. Startup services configure Signaler cannot be used as a type parameter in this generic name. Oh dear Lord. Okay, so our Signaler tag helper options isn't working. But I'm not even there. I mean, it's upset about hosting. Right? Is there something here about this? There's got to be something in the restore that didn't work. Package restore failed. Check the error list window for... Yeah, the error list window is just crazy. How am I supposed to... Yeah, the current .NET SDK does not support targeting .NET Core 2.1. Well, that's why I tried to download a new one. Alright, hang on. Downloads. .NET Core. I want to build apps. I thought there was a way to specify the newer .NET Core. Right, 2.1, there you go. I'm going to get the latest preview. Make sure you have the... Yes, I have that. Thank you. Is it downloading? I don't think it's downloading. I don't want that one. I don't want that one. That one. Gimme. Alright, here we go. Maybe that'll help. Have I installed... I know, that's what I thought I had, Joe Button. I got confused around the version numbers. And my friend Kathleen Dollard is going to be upset that I said that, but it's the truth. I was confused. You're talking about the folks who changed the namespace name in a release candidate. Yeah, they did. Alright, so here we go. This is the preview. There we go. So now I can install this. And this one has support for all that stuff. And it looks weird, it's .300, and that's because folks on other operating systems only have support for 3 parts of a version number. So we invented a fourth part by making it .300. So that first digit in the hundredths place is the patch version, and the 00 is a way for us to increment a build or additional patch information. You will need to create a new test MVC project and copy the launch settings over to your app. Oh, are you kidding? Alright, let's give that a shot. Let's see here. If I say .NET version now I've got something happening. Now we're cooking with gas. Let's try that restore now. Build still failed. Feels bad, man. Let's go into Fritz StreamTools. Let's do a .NET restore. Okay. Microsoft Code Analysis C# Workspaces requires C# 2.3. I don't have that specified anywhere in my file. So where's it getting that from? It's almost always easier to start from a fresh project. Yeah, I want to show that you can do this. Version conflict detected for code analysis comment. I'm not referencing code analysis here. Where is this coming from? StreamTools, Visual Studio Web, Code Generation 2.0.1, code generators, blah, 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 blah. Dear Lord. Okay. How am I supposed to resolve that? I'm referencing the code generation tools here. I mean, do I have to get rid of my .NET Watcher? Nope. Nope. Visual Studio Web Code Generation Design. That's this right here. Nope. Is that one of the packages in the meta package.all? Nope. And you were saying this needs to be .app. right. Nope. Let's review. I changed it to Netcore App 2.1. I changed all references to 2.1 Preview 1 Final. I updated the versions of the .NET CLI tool reference elements to 2.10 Preview 1 Final. Remove the elements for any Microsoft ASP.NET Core .NET CLI tool references. So I removed, well, no, neither one of those is an ASP.NET Core reference. Okay. Yeah, this isn't. These 4 steps aren't working for me. Fortunately, I can revert. And I should get an, yep, there you go. It's updated back to 2.0. What about the MS design? I had commented that out. And it's actually not even referenced here in this project. Core app has a dependency on code analysis Razor 2.0. Okay. That wasn't what was throwing an error. So I am not going to upgrade to ASP.NET Core 2.10 Preview. Okay, I'm seeing references to this has a dependency on that, has a dependency on that. Those aren't things I can solve. Those are things I can provide feedback to the team, and they're going to have to take a look at it. I've certainly got this video. I'll share it with the team. They might be aware of this issue. This is supposed to be a real quick update, but evidently something has changed out there on the NuGet packages, and my references aren't connecting as easily as I thought they would. All right, while I'm here, so I'm going to bail on my update to ASP.NET Core, which kind of feels bad, but it is what it is. What else do I have here? Use name of to pass follower goal configuration properties. You know what? We finished this. So this was, we wanted to clean up our JavaScript references. So we weren't passing magic strings around. So I'm going to close that. Then I should actually run, let's try and run some of this, huh? I want to take a look at this discussion. I love 2.1 launching, testing, and debugging is much faster, like 3 times. I know, Joe Bun, it is. The examples that I've seen, it is. I can't get there right now. It might be a neat feature to auto-adjust the font color. Oh, this is Standby Reloading's comment. Probably should add a checkbox to toggle this feature to avoid frustration. So the idea is we have a font color. So take a look up at the top of the screen. You see the Architecture Workshop follower goal? I've actually got a configuration page that we built with my friend Saduki, that's Sarah Dukevich, on stream one day. And this lets us, oh hello, somebody's out there peeking in the what's this called? I was about to call this room. It's a studio. Here we go. So that follower goal bar that you see there, I have a way for you to build the configuration for that on the fly here. Right here inside the web page, and then what I do is I embed this URL inside of OBS to get that bar. So the suggestion that we have here is, well, look at that black text, right? And this is and I don't even have an option to configure it yet for the filled font color. Well, it'd be great if I had that option on the configuration page, or even the empty font color. If my empty background color is something that makes it really hard to read that, let's make it this purple, right? It'd be great if I could maybe have a checkbox or a button there that says automatically choose the best matching color. So what our friend Standby Reloading has suggested here is there's some JavaScript out here that does this already. And SQL Mr. Magoo says you need to be quite clever with this if the color gradient is being used. Ooh, he's right. He's right. So as you can start to see it in the bar here today. There's a gradient from one color to the next. So if I add another element to the fill bar, I can actually have it change colors as it goes across the screen here. Right, so if I say the current value, let's make it a little bit closer to finished. See how the gradient changes going across. So Mr. Magoo is suggesting it might be a little bit tricky as we're looking at that gradient. We may need to change the empty font color for each one of the elements individually. That might be an interesting problem. The goal would be to have the font black or white. If you were manually picking the font color and made a gradient, you'd likely have the same issue. Sure. So if I manually choose the color, you know, all bets off. It's on you. You chose the color. But if we had a button here that said, you know, choose optimal color or something like that, that's not bad. You know, kind of calculate and plug it in appropriately. I agree it's the same problem, which is why I think I'm questioning whether this will bring any improvement on its own. It's a tricky one, and I look forward to seeing if it can be done in such a way as to make it feel better than simply picking one you like. That's a pretty good comment. You know what I'm going to do real quick here while I still have a little bit of time? That my Twitch dashboard is not updating at all. There's literally nothing appearing in my stream chat on Twitch. Can I see this? No, I can't even see the things that I write into my own chat room. No. Can't see anything. Exactly, I can see it on Restream, but I can't see it in my own. I can't see my own chat room on Twitch. Feels bad. Way to go, Twitch. Let's do this while I'm here because I see an issue that I think we can solve quickly. The fill font color. You can't see this. No, actually, I can't. I can see it in my Restream chat, but I can't see anything in my Twitch chat. The Twitch console in the dashboard is dead to me, which I hate saying, but it's not working. So let's do this real quick. That filled font color is something that I think I can add quickly to this. So my goal configuration is over here. This is the format for that goal configuration page we were working on. And my configuration options for this are actually sitting in a model, not a page, a model called follower goal configuration. And here it is. I have this configuration option called filled font color, but I don't have any way to specify it and pass it in. Hello, who's over there? You can come on in. Somebody's peeking in at me in here. Pock masked Pika. Twitch uses blind. It is super effective. Is it overkill to color each letter differently for a gradient? You know what? I think that might be that's just a theme option. If somebody wants to do that, great. I want to make this fill font color a configuration option on my page. If I look at my controller real quick up here, this is in a followers controller. This is a standard ASP.NET MVC structured way to do interact and build these things. So I'm receiving a follower goal configuration model which has that option, and I load default values, I set the current value, so I'm not doing anything specific to that fill font color, and it is coming along for the ride as part of this model. It feels like I might be able to get away with just adding to my page here information about the fill font color. So let's do this. I'm just going to add fill font color at name of model.fill font color. So what this does is I have a configuration model that's defined in JavaScript that has properties that map directly to the property names of my C# object server side. You are Pal8. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. I'm not going to be on too much longer here, but I appreciate you chiming in here. So I have fill font color. Now where can I put it on the page? Do I still have? I don't have that open anymore. All right, let's do this. Since I'm working here on the Razor page, I can actually edit that while I'm looking at the user interface, and I'll actually get a great experience from Visual Studio updating in both sides. Why do you duplicate the model information in JavaScript? So what I want my JavaScript to do, right, is I want to be able to refer in my JavaScript to the, I want to refer strongly to the configuration model.caption instead of passing a block of text around that says, quote, caption, because I might misspell that, I might create an error. This way, everything is strongly typed all the way back to caption, and I'll have my compilers and my JavaScript interpreter help me generate accurate code. Okay, so I have empty background color on the left, empty font color on the right. I feel like I could make that 3 wide and put empty background color and empty font color next to each other, and then put fill font color on the far right. So let's do that. Here they are. Here's that row. So what is MB3? What's the MB3 CSS class? That is spacing classes. Yeah. From Bootstrap. No. What is that? Margin bottom 3. Ah, thank you. All right, so I can continue to use that. And I'm going to change these from 6s. So Bootstrap has 12 columns across. I don't want 6 and 6. I want these now to be 4. And I'm actually going to duplicate the empty font color and do the exact same thing here, except I'm going to call it, instead of empty font color, fill font color. And the color that I'm going to output here will be fill font color. Last thing that I think I need to do is I don't want to look at all that. That's scary. I want to look at my JavaScript for goal configuration. Now that's the minified one. I don't want to look at the minified one. I want that one. And now I want to make sure that we're passing the fill font color in when we are doing... Oh, you know what? That's in preview, isn't it? When I do the preview, I want to make sure that's being passed around. So load preview, there it is. Here's my URL template. So there's the font color. So let's just duplicate that and change this from empty to fill. See, now I'm using properties, so that'll be appropriately referenced, right? And I don't have any danger of that text changing on me, right? And if I need to change the name of that property, I can do it in that one place, and all my JavaScript still works. So I think that's all I need to make my fill font color appear. Let me go back to that Razor. And let me look at follower goal configuration. Yeah. All right. So I made those changes. If I just refresh this page, there we go. Now I have fill font color here. So if I take this and I make it white, now that didn't light up yet. Okay, so there is a little bit of code in here that wires up the the quick preview boxes, and I don't have it on that one. So if I do click preview, does it still work? That's not working just yet. Let's see here, configuration model dot fill font color. All right, so now it'll auto preview that. I see, so it's very handy if you have JavaScript in a separate file than the Razor view. You're right. My bundler might need to be fixed. Looks like it output the min file to a different location. No, that's where I wanted to write it. It's actually consolidating those three into one file. And my goal configuration here, this should be including in development mode. In development mode, it should be referencing each of my JavaScript files separately. So let me F12 that, refresh, and I'm going to do an F12 so I can see my console. Aha! What the heck? I don't care about. Listen to friends. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. All right, fonts, Google. My Google fonts didn't load properly. That's okay. Let's see here. All right, so my fill font color, it saved that setting and loaded it properly, but passing that fill font color on the URL, right? Is it there? You know what? Fill background color blend empty, and font name. It's not passing my fill font color on that URL. Let's take a quick peek and make sure that it's building that URL correctly. I thought it was only doing that in that load preview. You can minify JS inside of your Razor pages. You can. But I think I want it actually minified and outside, so it's in a different file, so I've got all of those concerns somewhere else. Let's see here. Fill font color. Yeah, it should have added that to this. All right, let me. Let's check out the sources and let's see what was actually served here. No, it didn't serve the latest JavaScript. It's not serving that one it's not serving the one I edited. Let me go back to my Razor. Script source. So why am I not getting the cache busted there? Let's do append version on this. So I can get that, try and force it to load the new version of this. Fill font color, there it is, and now it works. All right, so now I can change this, and if I wanted to make it yellow, and now it made it yellow. Terrific. Control F5 will force reload the JS file. That's what I thought, and that's what I was trying to do, and it wasn't reloading it. Right? So I'll just do a Control R there. And if I do a Control F5, it's working. And my white flip-flop works there. Cool. So let's just push in these changes real quick. I'll stop the application, and I think that's all we're going to do today here on the stream. Let's just take a quick peek. Yep, looks good. Added fill font color as a configuration option. Fantastic. There we go. I'll push that up. So now it's available out there. And folks can download and check out this project. This is my StreamTools project. So if you go to github.com, /Fritz, fritz.streamtools, and here I've actually done something else. You folks might appreciate this. If you just go to github.jeffreyfritz.com, it'll take you right to my GitHub repository here. But this is my StreamTools project. There's links to it on the Twitch wall, and I believe there's also a link to it from the Mixer wall. You can see what's going on here. If you want to submit a pull request, if you want to open an issue of something that you'd like to see me work on here as part of this project, drop me a line. I'd really appreciate that. There you go. Thank you, Standby Reloading, dropping a link in the chat room. I appreciate you sharing that. Gosh, we had a lot of friends join us here today. I see 80 folks on Twitch right now, 5 over on Mixer. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will archive this video. I'll send it over to YouTube, and we'll tweet it a little bit later today. I fly home tonight. I take a red-eye home from Seattle whenever I'm out here. And I got upgraded to first class. Thank you, American Airlines. I land at 7 a.m. East Coast time tomorrow. It takes me about an hour to drive home from the airport, so I should be home in time to get started on the stream. Listen to friends. Found me via DevStream TV. Cool. Thanks for chiming in there. I really appreciate that. Listen to friends. And a Hacker News post. Oh my gosh, I'm on Hacker News. Wow. Thank you, Hacker News, and all the folks out there that have chimed in. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I'm going to talk to my friends over in the ASP.NET Core team when I get done here and see what I'm doing wrong here. Maybe we can get that fixed so we can upgrade to ASP.NET Core 2.1 and start using some of those features. That Hacker News post about dev streams and Dev Chatter recommended me. Cool. Thank you very much, everybody that tuned in today. Wow. I mean, 88 folks watching. We had more than 110 at one point earlier today across Mixer and Twitch. I really appreciate everybody tuning in, and I want to make sure that I can answer your questions. This isn't about me writing code so much. I want to pair program with you. I want to write code together. And you've seen in some of my previous streams, I bring in some of my friends. Yeah, I listen to friends. Nightbot is a little aggressive around URL posting. I want to protect that. Some of the regulars do have access to post the URL, but devstream.tv, I can see that, and it did pop up in the Restream chat. But this is all about pair programming. I want to make sure that you know that. You'll see me use things like Visual Studio Live Share to bring in some of our guests that join us here on stream. When I get back home tomorrow, of course, I'll be playing that Going Back to Philly song. And we'll be in Philadelphia. We'll be talking. I'll be back on my green screen over there on that side of the video. And we will do some more exploring here. I want to get this upgraded to ASP.NET Core 2.1. And I'm going to book some guests here while I'm in town on Microsoft campus. Make sure that we can have some folks join us. Isaac Levine is going to join us and talk about stability and monitoring applications. And that might go towards something our friend Shmuley in the Twitch chat room was saying earlier about logging exceptions. Maybe we can use application insights on Azure to capture a little bit more information about some of the errors that I'm having and take advantage of that. Hugo Dahl, the awesome developer streams. Yes, awesome developer streams are out there on GitHub. I am on that list. And make sure you check out my friend Suze Hinton. She writes a lot of great code in JavaScript for IoT devices. All right. Well, that's all the time I have today. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. What is that? What is that in UTC? 1500 UTC? Something like that. I'll see you then. Remember, keep an eye out for the YouTube copy of this, and you can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.jeffreyfritz.com.